What's up, everyone? Alex Rossman here, and welcome to Rossman Radio, the social first podcast where founders and industry leaders stop pretending everything's amazing and they tell the real stories, the wins, the failures, the why did I even start this moments, all of it. Most importantly, we break down the marketing strategies that are actually working for them today, not the ones some guru made up in a hotel conference room in 2016. So if you want real-world growth strategies told by the ones who have scaled multi-million-dollar brands, just listen.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Rossman Radio, where we talk to founders and marketers who are building purpose-driven brands with big missions and even bigger challenges. I'm Rob Nichols, Director of Strategy at Rossman Media. Today, I'm joined by Laura and Cesaria, co-founders of Thanks a Ton, a company doing something truly unique, combining greeting cards with carbon removal. Their mission is to make climate action tangible and personal, one card at a time. So Laura, Cesaria, thanks so much for joining.
Thanks for
Very
having
well
us.
said, Rob, and thank you for having us.
Yeah, I was going to say, let's kind of
Okay.
start at the beginning. If you could tell us a little bit
Sure.
about Thanks a Ton and what inspired you to create the company.
So Thanks a Ton started in a climate hackathon that I was working on with my original co-founders, and carbon dioxide removal is sold by the metric tons. So, and it's measured in tons. And so we had this idea to sell thank you cards with tons of carbon removal. And we had some success with that within our carbon removal industry, but carbon removal is expensive by the tons, and not a lot of people are going to buy a $250 card. So our customers came back and said, no, we care more about the price point than the quantity of carbon removal. So we completely rewrote our business plan, and we moved to Shopify, where we can sell lots of different greeting cards for occasions, holidays, and we can add to that many different methods of carbon removal, and we can sell them in the price points that our customers asked for. So in that way, we started out as a digital card company, and we took an early pivot based on our customer discovery.
Nice. Was there a specific moment, or I guess you mentioned earlier in our chat that you see yourselves as like a carbon removal company first, and I do like that framing. How have you? I know that you faced some challenges though in communicating what carbon removal is, and that some people will buy your cards without even knowing what it is. What do you feel like your biggest stumbling blocks there have been, and how have you tried to address that?
Yeah, the biggest stumbling block is definitely the educational side of things. Laura and I I think we'd both say that just teaching people about what carbon removal even is before people buy the cards is part of the difficulty. So like with reforestation, for example, everyone knows that planting trees is good. They don't necessarily know it's carbon removal, but when they see that it's carbon removal on our website, then we kind of think of like reforestation as an entry point for people to understand these other methods that we're, pitching to them essentially, like biochar or rock weathering or concrete mineralization or direct air capture. So yeah, the challenge of getting people to understand that reforestation is a good thing, but so are maybe these other things too, has been probably the biggest thing.
Yeah, I think Laura was describing those as more like gateway technologies that people can, easily understand as a way to get in there. What do you think the challenge is from getting people to understand that, to actually act and to make that purchase that connects that emotion with the action?
Well, when we talk to our customers, what we found is that of the people that we talked to, most people believed in climate change. They have a certain amount of climate anxiety, and so they care about climate change, but they don't know what to do. So that was part of how we created Thanks a Ton and grew it as we built our site on Shopify, was to provide a solution that people could engage in that's fairly easy. Everyone knows what a greeting card is. Lots of people support cards for causes. And there's even a market segment for that. So that's what we were shooting for. And then for people to be able to take action for climate, even if it's small, even if we're only removing a kilogram of carbon removal, if 1,000 people buy it, That's a ton. Can we sell 1,000 cards with a kilogram of carbon removal? I think so. So in that way, we can scale the solution, and people are part of the solution. They're engaging in the solution. They also get to learn about the different technologies as they purchase the cards.
Now, you mentioned you've done some marketing studies. You've tried social, paid social, meta ads, and you're honest about not all of that working so well, at least so far. But yeah, I know you're going to be making some additional inroads in other areas. But I do think that transparency is really valuable for other founders, other brands listening, especially cause-based, brands.
Yeah.
What have you learned from those tests that's been valuable with how you're reshaping the brand?
Yeah. Speaking of transparency, that's probably the biggest thing. Maybe like if I could give anyone listening right now a nugget of what has actually worked for us. I mean, if you look at our on our homepage, if you scroll to the bottom of like who we're trusted by, pretty much everyone that's bought a significant amount of cards for us knows us, and or we've gotten to know them. So it's really been about relationship building, or people who already understand or know us, or understand the market or carbon removal. So yeah, it is like when you see an ad on Facebook or Instagram and it's not clear who's behind it, you kind of get lost in the sauce. Um, yeah, so I think that's part of the reason our ads have failed is because there's no real trust behind it. It's just an ad to people. People really need to trust who they're buying carbon removal credits from, because it's a very untrusted industry, I guess, in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and I would say on the Rossmann side, what we found a lot of the similar things, even in non-cause based clients. What we found is that people trust people over advertising.
Mm.
People are kind of allergic to traditional advertising. That's why paid social's done so well. That's why we're even in business. But it's a lot of the normal budget that would go to traditional ads and display ads has gone towards influencer marketing, creators, people speaking directly into the camera, the very like loosely edited kind of user generated content types of ads. Have you guys explored ever working with any brand ambassadors or creators that already have some followings that might be in your area?
Yeah, Laura, I think before I joined the team, even you guys talked about that a little bit. Um, weren't their rates like super high?
Yes, they were. They were outside of our budget at the time. And then trying to connect with the right influencer, it was hard to even get responses back. And I think that's because people don't understand what carbon removal is. So the education campaign at every single point is so steep.
Completely. Yeah. I think for influencers, what we found that same thing is that a lot of times, brands are priced out of even working with them. There are like affiliate models now where, they get, paid as a percentage of every sale, but for something that's a lower price point, and of course, it's not as lucrative to them. I think one of the things that we've tried to do is for cause related brands that are working within one field, especially one that's as vital, as yours. It's trying to work with those creators that are in that field and that maybe are wanting to do it as a way to even improve their own image, or to make sure that they're aligned with what their followers want. I think that it's not charity, but it is certainly an area that's I remember reading a study fairly recently from Meta about people wanting to be in about 70% or something more likely to buy from brands that align with their personal values.
Yeah.
That's not to say that people are chasing brands that align with their politics, but what they want to do, if they've got a choice between a card company who does some good with something that they care about and a card company that just uses, wasteful materials from overseas or something just mass produced, 70% of the time they're going to go with the other brand. I think the challenge for you guys is, how do I let people know this at scale where they actually pay attention, right?
Right. It's very challenging.
Yeah. I think that the content that connects is the challenging piece. How does your existing community look right now? You mentioned that a majority of your business has come from these personal connections. How have you built those over time? And I think that's because that's a great foundation to have, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. One person at a time. It's difficult to scale that way, but the relationships that we're building are deeper relationships. And as Dasari mentioned earlier, transparency and trust, they're so important. Dasari, do you want to add to that?
Yeah. I guess I'll pull in some of my church background here. I don't go to church as much as I used to. But I remember my pastor back in Florida said something really interesting once when he was planting a church. He was like, all you need is a few people who really believe in what you're doing, and you can go anywhere. I'm paraphrasing, but that was the basic gist of it. That's always stuck with me because when it comes to what we're doing at Thanks a Ton, like Laura and I have talked about wrapping it up. I'm sorry, like just to be completely honest, like we've talked about wrapping it up so many times because it's so freaking difficult. But there are those people who believe in us and really believe in what we're doing. And like, I don't want to let them down, you know? So we keep each other going.
We do.
Well,
Well, and
that's
if you
good.
ask
And
us if
yeah,
we're
go ahead.
successful, um, it's been really difficult to pivot or to turn this education campaign into sales. But we've been very successful with getting the word out about carbon dioxide removal. There was a story from someone that we know where they were on a Facebook page about climate in Taiwan, and the topic of carbon removal came up. And Thanks a Ton was the introduction of carbon removal to this group in Taiwan. We didn't expect that. We don't have content in Chinese. We weren't targeting them, but the word's gotten out, and people contact us from all around the world on a regular basis. So we are getting the word out. We are succeeding in that regard. Now, to
Yeah.
That's
try
good.
and promote the sales campaign, we are pivoting to physical cards. That's something that our customers have been asking for all along. And we resisted the idea because of the carbon footprint of creating, buying, and sending a physical card, and then trying to create a card at that price point that includes a measurable amount of carbon removal. So after years of resisting that idea, last year we started working on it and people are buying the cards. So now we're reaching more people through the physical card sales. Maybe the digital card sales just aren't going to materialize, but if the physical
Yeah.
card sales do, that's still a really good thing.
Yeah, to touch on that a little more, I think like part of what we've learned with digital cards, I mean, carbon removal is so, it's not really intangible, but to people buying a credit or a certificate of carbon removal, it kind of is. The actual physical work of removing carbon from the air and planting trees and making biochar and crushing up rocks for enhanced weathering is a very physical act. It's very tangible. But when you're buying a greeting card that has a certificate that says that this thing was done, it doesn't really connect with people, especially when it's digital. So that's another challenge I think we've trying to figure out is like how do we explain to people that this is a real thing, this is a tangible thing. I feel like making the physical cards has made it more tangible to people. Partially is why we're seeing more success there. So yeah, people want to be able to hold on to and people like holding on to cards too.
Yeah, and gift giving season too. I feel like anything that's around, like because you're into a really crucial period, right? You'll be getting into the holidays, and
Yeah.
those cards are going to be more. There's certainly a tangible, a desire for more tangible products around that time too, even if it's a little outside of what you've been doing before. But I think that one thing that you guys do have, and that comes with building slow and quality over quantity, is that you do have that foundation to start building on. And I think a lot of brands try to start the opposite way, and they try to go after scale really quickly without that foundation of, we would almost say these are your ambassadors, the people who talk about you to their friends, they recommend you to people who are also interested in more of cause-based or the same kinds of types of causes. And I think that if you want to look for that silver lining, that's definitely there, and then you can work with that. It's kind of about nurturing that audience. How do I get that audience to tell more of their friends? How do I get that audience to tell more people? How do I get them to come
Yes.
back and buy from me again, more often?
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, I
true.
mean, how about your email marketing right now? Do you guys have a pretty robust list that you're working with?
We were, I don't know how many people we had on our email subscriber list a while back. We've cut it down. I think one of the marketing people we were working with, like, bought subscribers, or maybe I shouldn't even be saying that on a podcast, but um, it wasn't successful at all. So we deleted them
No.
anyway. So I haven't looked at our email marketing in a bit. Even when we did send out like really high quality emails that were explaining everything that we're doing, like in a nice, beautiful package, we'd get like one sale per email of like a $25 card, which is something. I like email marketing. It's something I'm sure we'll continue to do from time to time. It's not something we put a lot of effort into. I think we're putting more effort into like the physical, like talking to people, connections right now.
Mhm.
Completely. Yeah, completely. And have you guys worked with any, I would say like brand partnerships? Have you tried to reach out to anyone to maybe partner up and kind of share that, try to exchange some visibility to give you a little boost there?
Yeah, sorry, you've been doing a great job with that this year.
Yeah, we worked at a conference called Unbound. They're very connected in the industry, so they've been using our cards. Laura, you spoke with So Sweet recently. That's you want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure. So Sweet is a company that sells their physical greeting cards using plantable paper. And so we have kind of similar messages and strategies, and they're helping us to grow our physical card business here in the US, they're in Canada, and how, trying to find ways can we help each other grow.
That's great. I think that's a great idea, a way to get that extended reach. Sometimes it's about trying to find people that are in your similar spot, that are in a, even of a similar size business that can partner together. And
Yeah,
it's a kind of joining forces to expand your reach there. I know that, budgets are always a challenge, but if you're both in the same boat, then what can it hurt, right?
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
So the future that you guys are talking about right now is pivoting a little bit to more digital cards. If you were to say, if you had twice the marketing budget that you do now, double the team size, where would you put that energy to start off with?
I'd say bike delivery and like on the ground connections for me in New York. And then Laura, I'm sure would have different ideas for her situation. But yeah, I think the physical face to face interactions are the most important thing that have worked for us and that we should continue.
Yeah, and I would use it to grow the physical card sales side of the business.
Absolutely. Yeah. Have you, I know that, on your physical card business, have you discussed working with more like wholesale, like retailer businesses? Have you reached out to them about stocking it on their shelves? I know that we, as a digital first agency, Rossman doesn't usually handle those types of partnerships, but I know that I think about where I go to get my greeting cards, or my gifts, my cards for my gifts. I always want something unique that I can't just find at a grocery store. I'll either go to like a museum gift shop or something, or I'll go to,
Nice.
some place that feels like at least it feels personal and local to me. But have you explored on anything along that route?
We have. We've been looking at ways to try and get our cards on the shelves in places like Whole Foods, other places where we think that there would be an audience who would be interested in buying our cards. And there are just some big barriers to entry there. So we got to just work the problem there. And then we also signed up on Fair this year, and we just got the cards loaded in the last 2 weeks to try to get promotion there and find retailers that would want to sell our cards. So sorry, do you want to talk about that any more than that?
Yeah, just it's fair, FAIRE.com, and you can look us up there. We're thanks a ton. And yeah, we haven't even put our physical card inventory on our actual website yet because I guess we haven't really figured out how that would work through Shopify, but Fair makes it really easy. So that's where all of our physical cards live right now.
So as far as selling a physical card from our website, if we were going to sell one card, the cost to produce it and mail it, and the carbon impact of all of that really negates the work that we're trying to do. We can sell them in quantity from our website and handle specific orders there, but the only way to wholesale this is to scale it. The only way it makes sense to sell wholesale is to scale it.
That makes sense. Yeah, I think that's that at scale piece that you guys are missing. But I truly do believe that you guys have the foundation to get there. And I hope people who are listening who are interested in providing sustainable gifts to their loved ones or supporting a company that does that are able to get in touch and find you guys. I know that if you're interested in listening and interested in finding out more, if you want to go to thanks.earth, that's their site. Take a look at their cards, hopefully buy some digital or physical ones. And if you can, buy more so that it's sufficient and that it's not negating the good work that they're trying to do. But Laura and Cesaria, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank
Thanks,
you so
Rob.
much, Rob.